All right, great to see everybody. I was upstairs screwing around. Hold on, I got to put on Tolemykus's quote. I didn't even. That's what I mean. I thought I had still a ton of time. Came downstairs and I was like, "Holy smokes! It's 10:59. I better run." So great to see you, everybody. First of all, let me read Tolemykus's quote here. If the position had been reversed and Germany had done what the British Army has done, every bell in Germany would have been pealing until it cracked. General Croft, British House of Commons, the 21st of June. If the position had been reversed and Germany had done what the British Army has done. During debate over manpower and universal service. Tolemykus, if you want to elaborate, that would be amazing. I would because that just seems like something I need to digest over. Anyways, great to see you super early as per usual. Charles Latora, great to see you as well. Harro Bosma, missed you last week. Great to see you, Meandering Mike. Oh, did you guys have a storm? Hopefully you're all right. You without internet, this must be, oh my God, that must have been hell. William Arends, great to see you. I just sent an ETA for this week. If you want to use it, it's short air free. Awesome. Great to that's good to hear. Anyways, I'm gonna leave your thing on a little bit longer here, and then I'll put on the no storm of power was out for 5 hours. Man, Mike says. Hold on here. I'm going to. Oops. I want to share this one, and I have to remove this thing, and now I can go to this. There we go. And Tolemykus, what did you say? Highlighting just how critical the recruitment mobilization debate had become in mid-1917. Tolemykus, interesting. This week, I don't know if Brian R. Smith is going to be around later, but I did notice this week, I think it's called like the second reading or something about the militia bill or the conscription thing that's going on in Canada. And now you can really see this monster rift happening between Francophone Canada and Anglophone Canada. And like I said before, I didn't know, because I grew up, I mean, obviously not over 100 years old. And so I just assumed that rift had existed, as long as we've been around. And that was not the case. So it's been great to know. Oh, what did you say about this? Oh, I missed last week. I was on the road in Bavaria. I forgot the time. Oh, it's nice to hear about your, I love just hearing words like that. Because for me, you got to remember, I'm from Canada. So when I hear things like Bavaria, it's just that, it's an exotic place. Anyways, let's get on to this very quickly. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're super great to see you. Please let me know what you've been up to this week. I can't wait to tell you. Also, one of the viewers, Gamers with Coffee, Greg, sent me an email concerning the Avalon Hill game 1914 that he picked up, and saying, hey, maybe if you can help me out a little bit with the opening moves and whatnot, because I guess there's some blind like things you put off thing and then you reveal to the players your opponent layer, which to me sounds freaking amazing. Anyways, I'll hopefully get into that at one point. Anyways, the reason why I'm popping up the summer schedule, this is another, it just keeps, I'm getting this hammered into my head repeatedly from other people shouting out examples to me to take a break, in a sense, and just whatever. I mean, a perfect example is Meandering Mike, for goodness sakes, who said, okay, I'm actually going to double down on my 2 weeks. I'm just going to do an indefinite break. Don't know what else happened. Just let me relax, whatever. And it's been like that for me oftentimes. I mean, you think about the collection of orphans that we have from all the topics and stuff that I keep mentioning that I just don't get around to doing that I would love to do. And then can't remember who else. Some other person said I'm also taking a break from stuff. Then my creative writing person just said I'm taking the remainder of the summer off because she just says I just need to re-energize and whatnot. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this is a good idea. I also want to coordinate much more with you, William Arends, concerning going ahead with certain topics. And I also want to start doing a bit more of a deep dive with certain topics. And I just don't have the time. If I have to do this, I'm not complaining. I want to be able to do this every week. I just don't have the amount of time to properly to put towards this. So this is what I'd like to go with this for the remainder of the summer, and then we can just go from there. Like, for example, I even need to start preparing ahead of time, you know, with Paul Hederer and so on and so forth. So hopefully this will be all right for everybody. I'm kind of the way I'm always looking at it is just it's yet again it's an opportunity to improve and to go forward rather than looking at it as some kind of a struggle or something to try to overcome. You know, that's the way I'm looking at it. Got a fair amount of things for the live stream fact checker and interesting tidbits. Most of it, it's not, well, I shouldn't say anything's got anything to do with the fact checker. I didn't check anything. But I did find a lot of interesting tidbits, mostly from, yet again, just going through the articles in the Globe and Mail and, I guess, sorry, it was called the Globe back then, as well as their war summary. And let's start off with the quadruplane. I had no idea that, what was this last week? The channels, really? Oh, yes, you were. Let me know how that, could you let us know how that went? Like, what did you think? Have you played that game before, William Arends? What'd you think? Who won? What the hell? Whatever. I remember, I think it was last year, whatever, when you were playing 2 players versus another 2 players. It's some airplane game. I think you were playing a Great War airplane game. And it was pretty obvious who had lost. You and your opponent had these sad faces. I remember seeing a side picture of your opponents with this. One of them looked like he had just saw it like one of the winning move or something. It was pretty neat to see. Anyways, let's go to the quadruplane super quick. I was looking up. Oh yeah, I was based on one of the articles. And I'll try to do this relatively quickly. Hold on here. I want to see if I can get. I just need to get to the links. Yeah. All right. Here's the quadruplane. So I didn't even know these things were kind of like in production. For goodness sakes, I'm going to have to stop the screen and then show it to you on the thing here. Hold on here. I have to get to the website. Anyways, I was like, oh my gosh, great to see you, Zoe Dufour, and great to see you as well, Brian R. Smith. Last read, development of Hederer's game is stalled. Something about not being able to get it play tested. Yes, as mentioned, Brian R. Smith, I'd love to have Paul Hederer back. It's there. I'm just trying to plan it out. I think what I'm going to do for Paul Hederer is suggest a few topics and say, hey, what would you like to talk about? One in particular is this entire design experience. He mentioned maybe that would be a possibility. And I was like, yeah, I also would like to discuss with him the Kerensky offensive and so on and so forth. I didn't know it was that close into the Romanian border. Should have known, for goodness sakes, what it's got to do with Galicia and everything. But those type of things I'd like to discuss with him for darn sure. Anyways, let me get back to showing you the screen. So anyways, I was looking up a plane that they mentioned in the articles earlier this week, and hopefully we'll take a look. But then I noticed this thing, quadruplane. I was like, what the hell? I thought those type of things only existed like in the Wright brothers days when everybody and their dog was trying to figure out the way of trying to, get that type of powered flight. So anyways, I noticed this thing. I was like, what in the world? So they actually did try. It's this, I don't know if you can read that. The Armstrong Whitworth FK9 successfully sold the Royal Flying Corps on the idea of a quadruplane fighter. This was realized in the FK10 series. And there it is. I'm like, what in the world? I didn't even know these things. Like I said, I didn't know. It says there proved plenty of experimentation with multi-winged aircraft designs during World War I. I didn't know that. The biplane was more or less the standardized fighter-bomber form, while some monoplane fighters, yeah, we saw that, and triplanes as well, but I didn't know they tried a quadruplane. But anyways, I just wanted you to let you know that it's there, and I'll stop the screen again and then go back into having to present something. We'll get back to this. Yep, it's mostly just article-related stuff. Hold on here. I'm just going to present it. Yeah, we will hopefully get to that little bit. So anyways, like I said, this is just going to be super quick going down the list of things that I noticed that I thought were rather interesting this week in the articles. And it's primarily, I would say, more for people that don't stick around for the after hours. And I would just still like to and also prompt maybe stuff to talk about. I had a brilliant idea this week. It's been sitting around with me all this time, and I didn't clue in. I've been trying to, use engagement questions of the week. I think Evan mentioned it last week when I was saying, boy, and I've mentioned it even in previous live streams, I was like, boy, all these things that Tolemykus is like has discussion topics for, the logic puzzles. And I went, wait a flipping minute. All these times every week I'm coming up trying to scratch my head, coming up with an engagement question of the week. And I'm like, they're sitting there right in front of my flipping face. So that's what we're using now. And you'll find out in a minute when we go to it. The French do seem to be bombing targets that affect German military capacity, such as munitions depots and railways, rather than civilian targets, unlike the German bombing of London. I think I wanted to find out about that last week. I think we were talking about that. And it does seem right now, as far as I can see, is that no, they have not gone down that road of trying to attack strictly civilian targets. Oh, nice. I'm going to read it out because it's what I wanted to find out about. It was your first time playing William Arends. James playing the Central Powers, concentrated on the Western Front, while I tried to attack the Russians on the Eastern Front. When we ended, the Central Powers were ahead. Oh, cool. Thanks, William Arends. Actually, I can leave your little thing on for a little bit there, as long as they just don't go, just take a look at what I'm doing here. Talk of the British taking the entire Belgian coast with coordinating large infantry attacks with naval support and possibly even amphibious assaults was mentioned in the articles. I remember last week I said that I had noticed in Indian Idell's Great War segment that he had said that Admiral Jellicoe was pushing for the Third Battle of Ypres, the Passchendaele thingamajig, saying that that's probably a good thing, a Haig's thing, because he was saying that if we don't take the Belgian coast within the year or something, Britain's going to have to start trying to go for a settled peace. So it's like, oh my gosh. They mentioned that the British Western Front is currently right now 130 kilometers, and that's, as everybody should know, well, actually, I should have put down 2.5 Der Weltkrieg hexes long. General Maurice is urging the Russians to commit to an offensive, and we know that's just about to happen, the Kerensky offensive, just around the corner. Holy smokes. This morning I went and took a look at the chronology book at just a peek. I was like, come on. And to take a look in July and August to see what's happening. Tolemykus is 80 miles. Thank you, Tolemykus. It doesn't seem a heck of a lot considering how much they jam in, eh? And you look at the Eastern Front and it's like, whoo, nice and sparse little troops. Is that how fast the Kerensky offensive seems it's going to be collapsing. I was reading the chronology book, and at the beginning they're like, oh, big Russian offensive, going towards there. And next thing you know, I'd say even by the third week of July, so that's what, like turn 5 or 6, for goodness sakes, in Der Weltkrieg terms, they're already in a monster retreat, and the Germans are taking over Cernowitz, and all I hear is Mackensen this, Mackensen that. I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyways, renewed activity in Galicia, particularly near Smorgon, so maybe that's a preemptive little bit going on towards the whatevers. The Italians are reported to be engaging in mining operations along the Trentino and Carso fronts. I just don't, it's the first time I've ever heard of them doing blowing up big things to create some craters and whatnot. United States Liberty loan was oversubscribed by $1 billion. Everybody's pretty hyper about that, aren't they? The Russians are forming storming battalions, special corps of volunteers that spearhead attacks on entrenched positions. Kurdish tribesmen are being an effective ally for the Turkish forces over the Russians. Yes, yet again, I mean, I should say, a lot of people know now, and it's not the case. Seems like an allied offensives in Macedonia have been called off due to malaria and severe logistical issues, and some believe that there might be no resumptions of offensive of any importance there for the remainder of the war. I remember way back when watching an Indian Idell's show there about this, and I remember someone mentioning that all the Allied forces there, it ended up being, someone's knocking on my door, what the hell? All the Allied forces there, I think it was basically just like a giant internment camp. So many, that's it. They just got sick and didn't do much. Anyways, reports of armed merchantmen and U-boat fighting on the rise. I guess they're fighting back. The Germans are blowing great craters in the road to retard further advances. I just found that an interesting concept. British drive towards Lens after the Canadians are recently taking La Culotte. If I pronounce that horribly, Brian R. Smith, please chime in. There's a new type of British airplane. That's what brought me up to that point. I would love to find out what the hell it is. It says mention that can carry up to 25 men. I don't know if that meant 25 men in carrying capacity, load capacity. I have no idea, but I'd love to know what that airplane is. French troops continue to arrive in Athens, and so is Venizelos and all his contingent. American troops are in France, but are supposedly far from combat ready with Pershing shock. Now, this little bit is from Indian Ideal. I mean, the article, the newspapers are not going to say this, obviously. With Pershing shocked that they're poor to no training, and reports of even some of the artillery crews having never seen an actual artillery gun, let alone fire one. I actually think maybe a little over a month ago or whatever, I remember using it, maybe I think as a poster of the day, a picture of U.S. artillerymen training actually in the States with wooden guns. So because they just didn't have enough. Anyway, so yeah, please let me know what you've been up to. Now let's get to the articles, and there you can see what it's now going to be called. It's not going to no longer be called the engagement question of the week. It's going to be the Tolemykus engagement question of the week, which I think is totally cool. Anyways, now let's get to the articles, and we'll just, like I said, we'll just take a quickie look at the pictures, and or the art. You can. I'm not going to read them out. I'm just like I said, I just found them rather interesting. It looks like, well, you're going to see in a minute. You haven't seen it yet. So hold on here. What are we? 16 minutes in. Okay, we're doing good. We're doing good. We're doing good. Yeah, boink. You guys can see that. This is, remember that Battalion of Death, that Women's Battalion of Death. I think Meandering Mike, I think, didn't you watch this movie on YouTube or Prime or something? That version of her thing, and trust me, she doesn't look anything like that. But anyways, I guess they're going around. It was this little bit at the very end. You're eating up your country. Know you what that means. Know you that the last hopes are fainting in our hearts, and that we weak women will turn like tigresses in defense of our homes and children and Russian liberty. Woe unto you if you earn our scorn, and you others, soldiers in name, but Judases in fact, who are selling Russia to the foe. Know that it will soon be at hand when it would be better for you to face 10 German bayonets than one tigress, mother of Russia, and the curse she lays upon you. Holy smokes. Oh, so you did see that movie, Wicked. Okay, Meandering Mike. Yeah, I remember you were mentioning saying, doesn't look anything like that in the historical whatever. So I'm like, yeah, no kidding, eh? Ooh, she was a pretty, well, she was, well, I don't know if you'd call her a tigress. Anyways, Baltic Fleet upsets the Black Sea Fleet. Admiral Kolchak says he was thrown out by agitators and former. I don't know what the hell this is about, but it sounds like there's some Russian mutinies or something going on. And I wonder if that had anything to do. Remember about that Special Order 1 or whatever we were looking at? Oh my God, which freaks me right out. I had no idea that. Is that what it is? But it was already. I think they were already. I do know there was. I was looking up earlier this morning to Tolemykus. There was 2 planes. I don't know what the hell they were. I don't know, but they flew for a little while. But the RNAS, they're the Royal Naval Air Service, weren't too. So it didn't go into production. But it wasn't those things. I'm wondering, but I don't know. So that it sounds like they were already in there. We'll go take a look in a minute. We can go take a look at a peekie in that military, whatever. So this is this thing. I'm not sure if it actually did happen. I would love to know if it actually happened. If patriotic services were actually held in USA and Canada on July 1st, just blows me away. Okay, thank you very much, Meandering Mike. That's the movie there he's talking about, the Women's Battalion of Death. But anyways, I'd love to know if the United States actually celebrated the 4th of July on the 1st of July back in 1917. Like that is just, I'm like, whoa, that just, yeah, I'm absolutely stunned if that actually did occur. I don't know. Is that part of, oh yeah, so here's just about, I just thought it was at the end, which really made me laugh. So this is about, as you know, General Curry now, he's no longer a colonel. Arthur Curry there, the mastermind, the way I'm going to say, as far as I know, of Vimy Ridge. After, remember, his boss, Julian Bing, got promoted. He ended up getting promoted. I just love this at the end. Canada's hot stuff, Curry. I just love it. Anyways, here we go. Oh my God. Do you remember we talked about this guy over a year ago, for goodness sakes? this guy here, the European heavyweight champion. Remember Georges Carpentier, where they were offering tons of money. I'll put him giant size, like a width-wise, so that way you guys can kind of see him again. Remember, we talked about him a little over a year ago. He was offered a ton of money to tour the United States, and he said, "Screw you! I'm actually going to fight. I'm going to fight for my country." He ended up becoming an aviator, and now we find out that this guy was an aviator, and afterwards joined the ambulance corps and a motor driver, and he now comes to America in a different tour, which is totally cool, to seek recruits for the Lafayette Squadron, the American wing of the French Flank Corps. Remember, we just found out last week that the bloody Americans are training up to 30,000 of them, for goodness sakes. Hold on here. What's going on? What are you doing this for? Let's get back to here. So we were at Fight for France. Germany's hated. That it's just an article. I would like to go and take a look and find out why. So this is yet again, well, everybody else as well. William Arends. Another thing I'd like to start doing a bit more of a deep dive was all these social democrats in the Stockholm conference and so on and so forth. But they talk a bit about it here. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to read it out. I just want to go to the next. Hun censorship, tighter still, all brochures and leaflets must be. Look, as you guys have known, I'm sorry if it's going to drive you up the tree, but it's pretty bloody obvious by now that I'm biased. It seems like, well, yeah, I'm not an Anglophile. Let's be honest when it comes to the Great War. But anyways, when I see this, I'm like, okay, I'm going to hold on here. Were you able to take a look over or use my translation of the German Social Democrats at the Stockholm Peace Conference? They also had a position on forced annexations. Did we not take a look at that last week? If we did not, I do know I recorded, oh, darn it, what did I record? I recorded number 4 of what you brought me last week. So that's popped into the YouTube thingamajig, William Arends. I still have them on file. If we have enough time, I'll go take a look. But anyways, like I said, this stuff is going to be ongoing with you, William Arends. So don't, please, I'm not throwing any of your material away. That's for bloody sure. I just found this anyways, this interesting, this little bit, because we've been noticing this quite a bit on the flip side with the British doing exactly what they're accusing the Germans of. But of course, and there it is. Remember, William Arends, you were bringing him up, Jonah, to arbitrate the Greek troubles. You were the first time I'd seen him mentioned is when you brought these things the past couple of weeks. Anyway, so there he is, and so they. I just brought that up because they're corroborating what the German newspapers were saying. Oh, this I thought was kind of neat. That hold on here. With the British armies in France. Excavating in the vicinity of the battered remnants of the Hindenburg Line, British soldiers struck a strange object, which proved to be the tooth of a mammoth, which I thought that must have been totally cool to bring out. Oh yeah, this one I wanted to read it sometimes, but I didn't have it there. It's just I'd love to find out what they start talking about. Seeing if I guess I'm assuming trying to get more neutrals involved onto their side. I have no idea. I haven't read it yet. This person, Catherine Sarah McQuaid, let's see if I can find her in the links. I think I have her somewhere around here. Super quick. This is one of the things I love about scouring the articles is being able to just find all these other little things. It's like, who are you or what's going on? Oh yeah, what was that airplane? Hold on here. Let's go to that first. Screw this. We can do Miss McQuaid later because this is something that one of you guys brought up, Tolemykus. So hold on here. Let me see. Let's get to this. Find out this Handley page thing. All right. So I have to get to the top. Is there a search? Yep. And I'll pop it in. Handley. Oh yeah, I'll make giant size. Hold on here. Handley. Page V. Let's just try that. Oh, look at that. It popped it up already. It must be this. The 4-engine strategic heavy biplane bomber. Yowzers. I'll make this a little bit bigger, guys. Hold on. And I want to see what William Arends said here. I did send you a lot of material last week. It did not surprise me that you were not able to use all of it. There's the other thing, William Arends, with more time with us to go back and forth, we'll be able to strategize a bit more. Hopefully you guys can see that. Fewer than 50 handling page strategic heavy bombers were made, these serving just 3 RAF squadrons. I wonder if this is it. Let's go find out. Let's find out a little bit more of all this stuff here. Holy shoot, look at the range. That's impressive. I don't know about you guys. I think it's really impressive. Holy shoot. 10,000 feet, though, that's not good, is it? Sounds like a lot of fighters can nail you to bits. But what about the crew? Okay, crew of 8. That still freaks me out. I don't know what you guys like. It just blows me away that occurred back in those days. All right, let's stop here and then we go back to the narrative quickly. Still the articles, and then we're off to the engagement question of the week. All right. Oh yes, it's this thing. I think it's more. I didn't realize. Well, look, I'm just going to put it on. Hold on, and we still have to get to our other stuff. Jeepers jumping. Be honest with you, well, I guess anybody, but yet again, just a nod to, well, Zoe Dufour is here too. A nod to other Canadians. I didn't realize that O Canada was existed back then. And it says, do you know the words of O Canada? Nope. I don't. No, I don't. I don't know about you guys, but I've often thought if people born here in Canada had to actually take the Canadian citizenship, we'd all fail. We'd all have to, I don't know where you'd have to go, but we'd have to go somewhere. Maybe we don't own the North Pole, even though we think we did. I'm sorry, this is horrible. Zoe Dufour, kill me if you want. I just was like, come on, I'm sorry. I should have my mind out of the gutter. But I just, when I saw that, the title for this article, okay, good, Zoe Dufour, you wouldn't pass that O Canada thing as well, or the citizenship test. Yeah, I'm sorry. But when I saw this, university women freely offer their services. I'm sorry, my mind was in the gutter. What do you think I thought? Sorry, I did. And kind of in a weird Freudian side note, oh really? I didn't know that, Tolemykus. Well done, man. Oh, I guess, yeah, that's one way of doing it. If somebody ever complains, hey, you're watching too much hockey. No, I'm doing this. It's educational. I love it. Anyways, this one, it's yet again on a kind of connected to that, I guess, in a weird way. It says here, Canada's soldiers have temptations, but they are men of strong character, says the chaplain. I just find this ironic, just due to the fact that Canadians had one of the highest, I'm not sure if the highest, but they had one of the highest rates of sexually transmitted infections during the Great War. So I just find this ironic. And what did you say, William Arends? It is certainly amazing how aeronautical technology has advanced in less than 14 years after the Wright brothers flew their first plane for 59. William Arends, man, 100%. I mean, well, we saw, my gosh, the British had what, less than 100 planes, for goodness sakes, across the, at the beginning of the war. I think their first big thing, even over some city in England, I mean, one of the planes' wings fell off, for God's sakes, that type of stuff. Oh, you could. I didn't know you could, Zoe Dufour. I can't anymore. I could just do the couple and that would be it. Hold on. Is there any more? I think there's one more. Nope, that's it, eh? I thought there was one more. Hold on here. Yes, there is. I just thought this was an interesting way of putting something. I don't know about you guys. I thought, what a weird way of putting it. War flower. Canada should adopt war flower. I just thought that was just a really strange way of putting something. So anyways, let's go back to the, let me get this off to the side for a second. We're here to here. We've done the articles, wicked. And then we're going to go back to present the screen. And did I put the Tolemykus? Yes, I did. Okay. I was like, wait a minute here. All this thing, it's like, so now we're to the Tolemykus engagement question of the week. Why was artillery so vital in World War I, and how did it shape modern warfare? I should have darn it figured out which one it's from, which one it is. So there's your little thingamajig. I think I also wanted to bring this off to the side. I do know that as well. I want to show you another book. This is one I would really like to read. It's from Pen and Sword, I do believe. And there's another book that I'm sorry to say, I found a cheaty way of it. I found a PDF online and I printed it off. But I'll show you what I would like to buy properly someday is World War I Battlefield Artillery Tactics by Dale Clark, and it's by Osprey Publishing, and I'll show it to you. It looks pretty darn nice. I'd love to have it properly, like legally. There you go. I got rid of me so you can see that. Hopefully you guys can see this. Yep. So this book I'd like to get. And you know what? It's not all that expensive, is it? If that's in Canadian, $21 Canadian. So actually I shouldn't complain. But this looks pretty good. I know that there's also some really, really good. There was Not So Quiet on the Western Front did a fantastic thing about artillery, some of their podcasts. I think The Great War did a special on was artillery the most important piece of technology? Like, did that win the war, like over the machine gun kind of thing, that type of thing? I thought was pretty neat. Helps prevent mass enemy troop organizations. And then remember, think about also as well all the issues they had of trying to figure out the right type of artillery shells to wipe out barbed wire and all that type of stuff. So anyways, let's get back to, I think now we're off to the, I think we're going to be off to the narrative, aren't we? Hold on. I think so. I mean, no, we're going to WNN's World War I Day by Day thingamajig. Let me grab his link. Then where are you? There you are. I thought that I just thought, you know, why not? Let's take a look at his shorts, his YouTube shorts every week. Makes sense to me. He's a fellow mud glutton, so why not? There we go. I'm just going to pop your thing while I'm getting, I can focus. There we go. You guys can see that. And then let's go to today's thingamajig, because he's ahead of us, so he'll have, there we are.
World War I Day by Day. From the British perspective, June 28, 1915. British cargo ship Armenian was torpedoed and sunk in the Atlantic Ocean by German ship SMU-24 with the loss of 29 crew. Survivors were rescued by a Belgian cargo ship. Battle of Gully Ravine. British forces attacked and captured key defense positions from the Ottoman Empire in Gallipoli that advanced the left flank of the British line closest to the Aegean Sea. World War I Day by Day. From the
All right, stop the screen. Yeah, I kind of like doing this. Now we get back to this. We did the WNNs, and now we're into the, you know what? I'm going here. There we go. And then we're to who or what am I in World War I? And you can see the points now. 89 points, Brian R. Smith. Look at this, Tolemykus. You're right around the corner there. It's pretty good. Not bad. And there you are, Zoe Dufour. You're creeping up to 22. Not bad. All right. So here we go. I'll give you your first clue. Gee, I wonder what it's going to be. Hold on, I gotta get. Speak of the devil. I was just looking at you. There you are. I was looking at your thing. Considered. I'll write this up so I can put you. There's your points. Consider Napoleonic artillery basically ripping through limbs in a line of formation and watching artillery develop more explosively. It is an intrigue I'd like to follow. Oh, interesting. So there, so see what I mean about trying to get into deep dive stuff, trying to go ahead of time. But anyways, let's get into your, I'm going to also make sure I get into, hide this so I can go towards the banners. And lo and behold, the first one, as per usual, is, and remember for other people who are relatively new and want to participate, just get a point even for just doing a clue, just saying guessing, just guessing. So there's your first clue. I'm going to put it in the banners. Who or what am I? In World War I. There's your first clue. All right. I was in the news recently. And oh yeah, I better get my pencil out. The Tolemykus gets a point for what did you say? John Brown. All right. You are incorrect, but you're going to get a point. That's for sure. And then I'm going to put the second clue in. Boink, boink, boink. I've been to a ton of places, including getting to hang out with Roosevelt in Panama. Who am I? All right. I'll put the other one. I'm just going to fire them off here. Fire them off. Let's see. Tolemykus gets giant panda. Well, I mean, you put that in. That's not the right answer. But you're going to get a point. Ooh, I like that one, William Arends. The Assanzo's 10th attack. But you're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. And I have no idea. I have no idea bayonets to bullets, but we could find out. We could find out later when I reveal the person. How's that? But I'm going to give you a point even because I don't know if that was your guess. That's the way it works. I mean, I've got to go like it's official. That's, you know what I mean? It's so, oh, William Arends, you're going to get a point. You're going to get another point, but you were incorrect for Churchill. And hold on here. I'm going to put in the, I didn't give you your third clue. There you go. And I'm going to reveal it. I did a lot of work from London for my boss starting in 1895. Who am I? All right. Still no one's guessing. All right. Well, I should say guessing, but hasn't got the whatever. Okay. I'm going to give you your next clue. I was arrested in Mexico City. Oops. To the banner. There we go. I was arrested in Mexico City in 1914. Who am I? All right. We're down to two left. And then I'm just going to leave it for a while. I think that'll be the way to go. We can get on to the other stuff because we're, oh my God, 11:38. What the hell is going on? Tolemykus, you're going to get a point for Kermit Roosevelt. You're going to get a point. All right. You know, I was thinking about actually sending bayonets to bullets as Richard Harding Davis. You're going to get a point for sure, but you are incorrect. I was thinking about giving the logic puzzle ahead of time to Meandering Mike, but I was thinking I don't want to screw up his mojo for option F. But I was thinking, maybe I'll give it to him ahead of time. Like, no, don't do it. Don't. You're going to screw things up. I was awarded an honorary doctorate from Princeton University in 1935. Who am I? And Meandering Mike's going to get Jeremiah Kermit Bullfrog. And now I've got the bloody song in my head like an earworm, you son of a... Oh, God in heaven. I was awarded, and Harro Bosma says Francisco the First. You're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. I'm going to have to listen to some severe music later. Oh my God, what has happened to my head? Tolemykus, Woodrow Wilson, you're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. But you're cranking out the points. And your last clue. and I'll put it in the comments as well. In addition to all my articles, I wrote a lot of books, including The Folly of Nations back in 1921. Meandering Mike says, Woody Harrelson Sr., you are going to get a point, but you are incorrect. William Arends is Prince George. Ooh, I like it, but you are incorrect. You're going to get a point, though. All right. And what should I do? Should I, because we're at 11:40. You know what? I'm going to go back to showing. You did it! Well done! Oh my God, I loved yours as well, William Arends. My God, I'm going to give you a point for that for sure because I love it, but you were incorrect. I love it. I love it. Oh, brother Brian R. Smith, I'll tell you, everybody else is kind of happy because you would have ran away with it. But guess who caught in before you? Meandering Mike gets it. Gets the wins, gets it. Well done. Well done. Who is this person? Vindman. I'm gonna have to. If you know who that person is, Harro Bosma, please pop it in. So Brian R. Smith, you were oh so close, just a little past the prime, past the thing. That's right. It's William Frederick Palmer. He was mentioned today. He was mentioned this week. And let's go and see if I can show you a quickie thing here. For his thingamajig. I've got him here. Yep, there he is. And I'll get rid of me. So that's him. And I'll get rid of the hiding thing. And I'm going to go to the thing. Charles Latora says, Boy George. You know, it's weird. Charles Latora, just before you popped in your thing, about 10 seconds previous, I was thinking, boy, we haven't heard from you in a while. Like, see, you popped in. So, wow, I'm really happy. Anyway, so there he is. Let me see if I can. No, I don't want to start getting funky. Maybe I'll try. How's that? There we go. So this is him. He seems like he had one hell of a career and an interesting, I just had an interesting life, for goodness sakes. Look at that. 50 years as a war correspondent. Look where he's been. Greco-Turkish War. Went and saw a bit of the gold rush. He went to the Boxer Rebellion. He's been to the Boer War. Russo-Japanese War. Where the hell has he not been? This is crazy. Balkan War, that's where he, like I saw, where he got arrested in Mexico City. And then there it is, John Pershing. I guess I'll have to put it in. Seems like a little, there we go. General Pershing there. That's why he was mentioned this week, that he was becoming what he is. And there's all his books. That's where I saw the thing with Roosevelt in Panama. So I have no idea what, you guys would know who that is, I would assume, where he was. But I wouldn't mind picking this one up, The Folly of Nations. That sounds rather interesting. All right, I'm really glad. I think that went well. Thanks a lot, guys. Nice. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this one. I'm going to go to here. Yep, let's do we got 15 minutes. Is there anything quickly I want? Okay, before we get to the thing, I want to make sure that, stop the screen. Oops, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, goody. I'm really glad you liked it, Bayonets to Bullets. And point. Yeah, let's super quickly before we go. British soldiers firing from the trench during a gas attack. Yeah, it's not long. And okay, let's watch it. The reason why I'm saying let's watch it is because it shows an actual person becoming incapacitated from gas, and it's not. This isn't scripted. I think it's pretty bloody obvious. You can see that this person, like it's not. He's not. It's the real thing. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys will go, no, that's scripted. To me, it does not look scripted. So hold on. Let me get to it first. I don't think it's very long. All right. Yeah. All right. So now I can show you. Yeah, it's, you know what I like, Bayonets to Bullets, from Bayonets to Bullets, is now that you're now on the you're on the list, the leaderboard, which I think is totally cool. I love seeing new people on the leaderboard. So here we go. All right. Yeah, this is It's only a minute and 26. I'll get rid of me. Maybe you guys think it's scripted. I don't think so. If you guys think it is, please let me know. There he is, the guy coming out of the dugout. Do you think it is? Does he look like he's laughing or smiling, or maybe it is scripted? Probably is, eh? All right. You saw that? Good. Hold on here. I got to get to the thing. Cool. I'll get back to this. And then we can go to the yep, we still got a fair amount of time. All right. I just wanted to see what else I wanted to show or just look at, but we're not going to be able to do it because we're going to run out of time. Hold on. I got to present the screen. You don't think it was, eh, Zoe Dufour? You think it was real? Is that what you're trying to say? Oh, that's the other thing too. Of course, I'm not thinking of because of your healthcare and nursing experience that you probably would be able to notice a little bit more than probably some of us. Real pain versus scripted or whatever. Okay, thanks, Tolemykus. And what did William Arends say? I don't know, William Arends. I really don't know. I like I said, I would maybe I'll go take a look at more of the information of that video. It'd be kind of neat to find out. And Zoe Dufour says too many people trying to help him out. Neat. All right. As in you think just maybe naturally the human condition would want to help regardless. Interesting. Yeah. So now I've got two people trying to wonder about the cameraman now. So William Arends, you've got good company. Anyways, did we want to what? I think I mentioned this because hopefully I will put it in the sources and links. Or for the love of God, go to Consim Forum and take a look at the link for, because there's a really good thing on here. But it looks like a really interesting game. Situation correlation to forces on the southwestern front. Is it this? Boink. I just wanted to show you. I don't know where the hell I got this from. I think I have to put it in the sources and links. I think it's from a Russian website that I had to translate, but I was just like, I just found this rather revealing. Just take a look at all the information here. By the spring of 1916, the Southwestern Front, with its 4 armies, consisted of 18 Army and 4 Cavalry Corps, which is 40 infantry and 14 cavalry divisions. Now look at that for that front, and look at what it says, from the Pinsquamps all the way to the Romanian border, for goodness sakes, versus what we know about the Western Front and the density. And we were just looking at that about the British Western Front only being 130 kilometers. And what was this? What are they saying here? It didn't really say about that, but just wanted you guys to take a look at that very quickly. Is there anything else? Russian Brigade. Oh, yes. I wanted to show you guys this super quickly. And Tolemykus says, let's go back and check. Yes, that would be totally cool. Oh, what did I say, though, Meandering Mike? If you didn't put in that little emoji at the end, I would have taken it as gospel truth. That's the problem with me. So I thought another thing I wanted to start mentioning, we were talking about last week, is that the French mutinies have been going on for quite some time. But of course, obviously, the Allied newspapers are not going to talk about it. Anyways, I went to go to the World War I encyclopedia, the online encyclopedia, to take a look at this. And I just typed in French mutinies or whatever. But then I found this one about this. And I thought, this looks rather interesting. Let's see if I can make this. Oops. I did the wrong one. There we go. Proverbially. Nice. Hold on. Let's see if I can. There we go. But anyways, I ended up finding out about this one, which I didn't know anything about. I'd love to find out more information about, which is this article details the mutiny of 2 Russian brigades sent to France in World War I. The less rebellious of the 2 was finally disciplined and used to suppress the unruly brigade in 1917 in what might be termed the first battle of the Russian Civil War. Afterwards, remnants of both brigades were formed into the Russian Legion of Honor and returned to the front and fought loyally for France until the end of the war. That is so freaking cool. I just think is that real. William Arends, I know. And on a side note, which I think is totally neat as well, is the fact that remember with the that book Live and Let Live by I should know. I love the guy. I should what's his name? Tony Ashworth. That book, I think Meandering Mike actually has this book as well. I remember them talking about. I remember about them letting things go back and forth, and afterwards, a lot of people were also saying like, how the hell did the Germans not know about the French mutinies that were going on? That would have been a perfect time for them to strike. And my thought was, after reading that book, was maybe they did know, maybe, and they just didn't say anything to their higher ups, because those German infantrymen were maybe, as we know, a lot of them were like, as we know. Remember, Ernst Junger even mentions it, for goodness sakes, in his book Storms of Steel, that they were all dismayed when they had to go back towards the Siegfried or Hindenburg line, for goodness sakes, because they're like, hey, wait a minute, this morale-wise, it doesn't feel good to be on the defensive that way, and so on and so forth, and all that territory they had taken, and now you're like burning it, like that type of thing. I just think that's amazing. Boy, you just said you just did my little thing there. James, let's get to the World War I logic things. Did I, for the love of God, did I not? Hopefully I didn't do that. Did we do this? Okay, no, we did that one. That was the last one we did. Thank God. I didn't screw that up. Are we doing the rescue of the Austro-Hungarian spy? Were we supposed to do the Austro-Hungarian spy? What were we supposed to have done? Saving the secrets of the Paris gun. And did I reveal it? Are we sure we did not do the secrets of the Paris gun last week? What the hell? Anyways, don't look then. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We'll go to the next one, because the next live stream won't be for another 2 weeks. And odds are everybody will have forgotten what you just saw anyways. That's what I'm hoping for. How's that? So we'll go straight to the, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to the rescue of the Austro-Hungarian spy. And I wanted to go to the Russian, and you darn right, I swear to God. You know what, Manny Mike, I was thinking as well, and Zoe Dufour had mentioned this earlier as well, was the fact that I wanted to maybe do, like, give you send off to the other mud gluttons some tokens for the show. And Zoe Dufour mentioned, suggested, what about coasters in the shape of hexagons? And I went, oh my gosh, that would make sense. And I was thinking, well, maybe we'll have a few of them, and one would maybe be like option F. We could be one of the coasters. Maybe have like 6 of them or something. You know what I mean? That would be kind of cool. I think that'd be. Anyways, I love the idea. And on a second note, now that we're going to go onto the full screen so you guys can see this, is the fact that let's make this a little. Oops, I did it again. I keep popping onto the wrong side, wrong screen, and it makes. It makes, there we go, I love intrigue. I love the spying. I think Tolemykus knows that as well. So when I was looking forward to this one. So, and what did you say, William Arends? I didn't read it. Everybody else could read it. The German papers seem to get their information about the other side from reports that were made by the English and French papers. Oh, really? I had no idea, William Arends, about that. That's interesting. Because as we know, there's a lot of, wait a minute. Though I do remember hearing about, remember, reporters from, you said that's it, through neutral countries. I think some of them were embedded in both sides. I'm pretty damn sure they were, some of them were getting there. Remember that? Damn it, we're going to have to go look that up. Anyway, shush. We only got 5 minutes. Or roughly. Yeah, like, in other words, I should be trying to go about that. I also have a talk at 1 o'clock. I would like to go thing there, the book thing from the World War I Historical Association, but I doubt if I'll be able to do it. I'll probably be too tired. And because we're still doing the after-hour stuff, and we got your ATA first, I do believe, William Arends, on that. Mind you, yours is only about 7 minutes long. Anyways, we'll go. Rescue the Austro-Hungarian spy, 1917. By 1917, the Eastern Front was in turmoil. The Russian Empire was collapsing into revolution, and this is perfect timing, would you not agree? And the Central Powers saw an opportunity to strike. The Austro-Hungarian Empire had planted a deep cover spy in Kiev, gathering intelligence on Bolshevik factions and Russian military movements. This agent, Joseph Kovar, had obtained critical information about Russian airfield defenses near the Carpathians, which could allow the Central Powers to launch a devastating preemptive strike. However, on October 10th, 1917, Kovar's cover was blown when a Bolshevik double agent intercepted one of his messages. Now a fugitive, he needed to escape Kiev before he was captured and executed. The only way out was through the skies. Totally cool. A single Austro-Hungarian reconnaissance biplane piloted by Lieutenant Otto Brunner was dispatched for the daring rescue. The mission was fraught with obstacles. Conflicting intelligence suggested Kovar was either hiding in a church, a factory, or a train station. Russian air patrols had increased near the city, making an extraction risky. A false report claimed Kovar had been captured, but no proof was provided. Weather reports warned of a storm front approaching from the west. The Bolsheviks were rumored to have set up a machine gun nest near the factory. Question: as Lieutenant Otto Brunner, what is the best course of action to successfully extract Joseph Kovar? A, land at the nearest open field and wait for Kovar to find the plane. I'm sorry, right now I'm thinking of a mini game. B, fly low over Kiev and drop a flare at each suspected location to signal Kovar. C, coordinate with Austro-Hungarian ground agents to confirm Kovar's exact location before attempting the rescue. I will say this again, Tolemykus, these things seem really good for a choose-your-own-adventure type stuff. Would you not agree? Maybe get Meandering Mike to pop in the option F page. Oh my God. It'd be like, you have to do this with no, adult only or something to reveal. Anyways, C, coordinate with Austro-Hungarian ground agents to confirm Kovar's exact location before attempting the rescue. D, quickly land. The option F. We're already getting into this. D, quickly land at the factory where intelligence suggests Kovar is most likely hiding and take off immediately. Or E, abort the mission due to the storm and enemy patrols waiting for a safe opportunity. Clues and false reports. A coded message from Kovar's reference an iron structure. Was it the train station or the factory? A Russian officer was overheard boasting that the spy would not leave the city alone, alive. I can't do that. I should have tried. I shouldn't have tried is what I'm saying. Oh, darn it. Brunner's mechanic noticed unusual bullet holes in the fuselage, suggesting Russian spotters had already fired at the plane. A captured Bolshevik courier carried an old location report, which might be misleading. A flash of light was seen from a rooftop near the factory at the scheduled rendezvous time. Interesting. Discussion topics. How important was aerial reconnaissance and extraction in World War I compared to later conflicts? 2. What were the risks and advantages of using aircraft in espionage operations? 3. How did the shifting political landscape in Russia affect Austro-Hungarian and German intelligence operations? And I would got to say this, William Arends, for sure. I would say that this certainly leads in with your talk about the advancements from the Wright brothers. What did you say? How many seconds to what was going on? You said what, 59 seconds or something like that? Anyways, what role did the independent pilots play in the war outside of traditional dogfights? And 5, how did weather conditions impact World War I air missions? Thank God. I swear to God, I was thinking, shit, it doesn't sound like we're going to get an option F, which we are. How did weather conditions impact World War I air missions, and how would modern technology have changed this mission? Oh my God, there was yet again on a thing I wanted to find out about this coastal airship the British had. It didn't last very long. Yeah, I think they flew it in May, and on the 22nd, it was called off. One of their gunners accidentally shot it. Anyway, let's get back to the your A to E's, and then we're going to pop in the option F. So I'll bring this a little bit more. And then we're going to shoot. There we go. Boink. Option F. Lieutenant Bruner contacts local partisans, encouraging locals to start celebrating the Carpathia Day wicked that distracts the constabulary, allowing Bruner to sneak in the church before Kovar's hiding. You'll need to allow enough time for me to type. Yes, that's true, Meandering Mike. You're right. I'm sorry. What am I saying? So we're leaving your option F for sure there. And what else did... Oh, we almost gave it away, didn't we? I think we just did. Ooh, I like that. Use your psychic powers. Anyways, that's it. 59 seconds was their longest flight over their first successful plane at Kitty Hawk in December. Thank you. I'm going to pop on Meandering Mike's thingamajig, and then we're going to go back to this here. Best course of action is C. Oh my God, what did you say, bayonets to bullets? So you were there. B and C seem risky, more likely to uncover. Really? But it looks like it is it. Let's find out. I'm going to get away from here. Boink. The best answer is C. Coordinate with Austro-Hungarian ground agents to confirm Kovar's exact location before attempting the rescue. While landing blindly, A, would be too dangerous, and dropping flares, B, risked alerting enemy patrols. Landing at the factory, D, was too hasty, giving the possibility of a machine gun. Oh, yes, that thing. Machine gun nest. Delaying the mission, E, would likely lead to Kovar's capture. But I will say this, have you noticed something, Tolemykus? Your best course of action in reasoning, you never, ever, once have ever said anything against option F. I do find that rather interesting. You find fault with every other option, except, of course, the good one to use, and you never say a thing about a bad thing about option F, which I find rather revealing. So it could be an actual good option to use. Would you not agree? I'm just saying that's, if it was, you would have said it, would you not? By gathering precise intelligence before landing, Bruner could minimize exposure to enemy fire, ensure Kovar was actually present, and make the extraction as swift and safe as possible. And we're going to go back to the narrative super quickly and take a look at the stuff I wanted to talk about, but we're not going to talk about because that's just the way it is. Invisible with the spying. Perfect, 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 perfect. Of course, we're not going to reveal why. You can't, you never say anything about option F, but that's just the way it goes. So we did that. Attrition warfare at the Italian front. Oh, yes, it was a really good reveal on BGG. Oh, my God, Zoe Dufour, I don't know if you're still there. I hope to God you are still there. If you're just listening, for the love of God, get your butt towards the screen so you can see what I want to show you. Hold on if I can find it. Do I have it? I should have put it in here, you silly goose. And because it's, I do have it here. Because remember I was talking to you, Zoe Dufour, about counter stacking and how crazy it gets. Anyways, this person does a really good review of the Italian front for Der Weltkrieg. So I was looking up different games on Caporetto. Coming up, as we know, it's coming up in autumn. Anyways, if you're still there, Zoe Dufour, I want you to see the craziness of the stacking. Remember, we were talking about this. I'm going to get rid of me so you can see this better. And you can see the insane stacking. Look at that. And like the guy says, of course, there are more details. Oh, no, sorry. Stacks in the June 1918 scenario at the Battle of Caporetto. The stacks are even higher. So this isn't even Caporetto, for goodness sakes. And you've got to like try to find out all the info that's going on. Like that's just ridiculous. Anyways, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. We're way over whatever, but just hold your horses. We'll get into the good stuff. Or whatever stuff. Anyways, I just wanted to get back to the stuff that we're not going to be talking about, which I did want to talk about. And there we go. So we did this. Historical board gaming. Oh, darn it. They have some, how is it? Because Kings and Kaisers and historical board gaming, you can go and download their rules free, for goodness sakes. Let's do this quickly. Yeah, hoping to help out gamers with Coffee Greg with the Avalon Hill Hill game 1914, which looks like a nightmare. Alsace-Lorraine, there's some wicked, I just typed in Alsace-Lorraine in YouTube, some fantastic videos to watch, which I want to do. I want to read up on this and talk to you guys. I'd like to discuss this with you. The Too Few Plants in Mesopotamia article, ironically, also does bring up the mention of, sorry, it should say Too Few Plains in Mesopotamia, not. So here, let me put it in there. That's it. I missed that bit. Yep. I found that rather interesting. I'd also like to look up the Kerensky offensive, get more into this, about especially finding out how fast it collapses. Caporetto, Paul Heder returning, the orphans, which I said are all those bloody topics that we never bring about. And then look, we're just going to go super quick to take a look at the Kingston thing here. How are we doing? That's correct, William Arends. So we'll look at, hold on here. We're going to go to the, I'll show you in a minute. I'll show you the, what I was thinking for the time, just so to give me some more, just to get more focus and relaxed and a bit more energy. So it'd be, here's your things we're looking into. I was thinking that, William Arends, July 12th, the 26th, the 9th, and the 23rd, and we'll see how we go from there. I thought that would give me a bit more time to start taking a look into stuff. So hold on here. Just want to make sure that I've got it there. And then I'm going to stop the screen so you guys can see this thing. And then we're going to super duper quickly get into after hours. Let me get rid of me again. There we go. This historical board gaming thingamajig. And like I said, you can go to, look, free rule book. You can go and find out, which I have, because I was like, screw this. I want to get more, find out more and more information. But anyways, even the historical board gaming thing, they've got some extra stuff about mobilization, whatever, and on and on and on and on. I was like, well, why not? I still want to get this map. They've got two versions now. They have this one and then a slightly enhanced one. But there's something about this map, guys. It's, super duper Axis and Allies, obviously. But I just love the coloring. I love that shading. It's got that, just this old look to it. It just looks lovely. Anyways, let's get back to here super quick. And then I can get into the YouTube thing because we're going to go into the after hours. So that's it. Thank you so much. We'll see you in 2 weeks for you guys that are not going to stick around for the after hours. Hope you have a great remainder of your weekend. And like I said, see you in, what was it, July 16th or something like that? Or whatever. Well, you'll find out. I'll pop it on the channel and we'll take a look. Now we'll go off to the after hours. So it'll be the William Arends translation attrition, which someone had mentioned. Please, could you pop in? Thanks, Zoe Dufour, about the mini break. Is maybe just elaborate a little bit more about what the ATA is and whatnot. Put it in at least when I go to post independently, which I'm really glad about doing now. So that way, William Arends, you've got your own material off to the side You know what I mean? It's just yours, but at least that way people, I'm going to put in a little bit more of a description. So that way, like for the title, so that way people will know exactly what, bang on, William Arends, as well as I just want to actually talk to you a little bit more. So that way we can go, okay, where do we want to go and look at a little ahead? Because the beauty about history is, as we know, we're doing current events in a sense, but we've got the beauty of being able to, you know, that's over 100 years ago for us, so we can just jump ahead and go, okay, and prepare and go, like, for example, like we know that Caporetto's coming up, and so we can start looking ahead for that and whatnot, and so on and so forth, and as well as the Russians are going to propose their big thing, and then what the heck is the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk is going to come, I guess, after that, and oh my gosh, all kinds of amazing things just waiting around the corner. But this should help us out as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, let me get into the playlists. Get back to my, yeah, I got to get a proper eye exam for sure. But we'll still be on. Oh, good. I know. Every once in a while, bayonets to bullets there. When I'm doing a little bit of my narrative thingamajig, once in a while, in my back of my mind, I'm like, is he doing his little narrative for the Guns of August? So I'm really glad to hear that you are. That's awesome. Well, like I'm still gonna do whatever. We're still gonna be here. That's for bloody sure. Whatever. Hold on here. Let me get into the making sure I've got it. Get it in there. So, anyways, that's it. I'm gonna switch us off here. Actually, I could have left your thing on for now. Why not? Wait to present the screen. Okay. Boink, boink, boink. All right, I'm going to turn myself off and turn you into a little texter. See you later, guys. All right, hopefully this works well. So I think I did the articles correctly. So anyways, welcome everybody. This is the Arends Translation Nutrition ATA for LiveStream 123. This is part of last week's submission that William Arends gave us, and gave us quite a bit. I think this one I did not record in any way, shape, or form last week. So anyways, here we go. Translator's note. This submission ties in well with the report of the Social Democrats from the Stockholm Conference aired during last week's live stream. Here are 3 short articles about international politics from Berlin's latest news. The first one deals with the convention of Polish dignitaries belonging to the Polish Center movement. This movement consisted of Polish nationals who were working under the German administration. How much their national aspirations would have been realized had the Central Powers won the war, we can only speculate. But according to the Social Democratic memorandum, it was an issue that the Germans were willing to consider. The second article first tells of the deportation out of Greece of anyone belonging to or suspected of being a supporter of the Central Powers by the High Commissioner Jonard. That is the first paragraph. The second seems to be an account of a debate in the House of Commons in Great Britain, where the Undersecretary for Foreign Affairs, Robert Cecil, is giving the position of the British government concerning the change of government in Greece. The last is a dispatch from Sofia, Bulgaria, responding to changes in Greece that have put Bulgaria and its alliance with the Central Powers in a much more precarious position. Berlin's latest news, Wednesday, June 20th, 1917, morning edition. The Constitutional Convention of the Polish National Center, Warsaw, 18th of June. The Polish Courier reported on the 18th of June about the public meeting of the Constitutional Convention of the National Center under the chairmanship of Prince Druski Lubecki, at which 200 persons were in attendance. Speeches were made by Felix Manaski, Jan Sadiak, Professor Marian Grotowski, Prince Lubecki, Duke Ronacher, and others. In a speech given by the Professor Garliski, the point was raised that the National Convention was neither a political party nor a bloc or caucus within a political party, but rather an organization with the following goals: to establish a constitutional monarchy with a democratic foundation, to create a strong government with a strong military, to have progressive development for the realization of the Polish national state, and to oppose and combat the activity of anarchists. Gorliski saw as noteworthy the future strengthening of the organization of the center, especially in the provinces. Members of the organization should see their provincial conferences as the highest that will further the roles of the local councils and their associated committees. The deportation out of Greece of the German-friendly intriguers, conspirators, or schemers. Copenhagen from a dispatch out of Athens. Jonhart has all the supporters of the Central Powers deported out of Greece. As long as the question of Greece remained in flux, the Council of Ministers have threatened to put Athens and Piraeus under a state of siege in order to keep political demonstrations from happening. Hold on. Translator's note. For some reason, the article switches here from Greece to the British Parliament and a debate about the situation in Greece, which questions being taken by the Undersecretary for Foreign Affairs, Robert Cecil. In the lower house of the British Parliament, Undersecretary Cecil was asked the question about the legal situation in Greece. He replied that the security forces had already concluded that Straight, Gunaris, Metaxas, Dusmanis, and other German-friendly intriguers, conspirators, or schemers were to be deported out of the land of Greece. MP McNeill then asked if the legitimacy of the current dynasty that was following the treaty that was enacted in 1843 could not be challenged by a plebiscite over the future of the government. Cecil answered that the Treaty of 1843 concluded not only with England, France, and Russia, but rather also with Denmark as well. Boy, I'd like to look that up. We're going to have to, aren't we? Treaty of 1843. This fact put in doubt as to whether a change in the treaty was possible. He added that to administer a plebiscite at this time would be impossible. He also made the observation that this question of a plebiscite should be postponed until after the end of the war. Cecil replied to a question of MP Borthwaite. Jonart's authority makes it possible for him to move quickly and energetically without having to answer to a government about the minutiae of every matter. Sounds like a dictator. Cecil refused to discuss MP Lynch's opposition to the establishment of a Greek republic. That was a fantastic article. Venizelos, England's satellite. Sophia, 18th of June. The official Narodni Prava, the People's Truth, wrote, on the question of whether the Greek people will now go along with being silenced by force, the Entente and their collaborator, Venizelos, will soon have to decide if they allow a loosening to occur. Every attempt to attack us, the Bulgarians, has been broken up without mercy. Bulgaria fears no one. We Bulgarians know that our freedom and justice must be defended. The tragedy, I'm just wondering if that also includes Germany. The tragedy of Greece is the tragedy of its worthy people and their king, who would not bow down to malicious foreigners and thus defended their righteous honor. The tragedy of Greece is at this time a scandal for the civilizations of England and France. And I think that's the end of it. And I just want to say thanks again for this material that was provided us. And I'll see if I can grab the thing. So at least we can look at the very top again. And thank you very much, William Arends. And I hope that went well. And I hope you guys all have a great remainder of your weekend. See you later. Thank you. All right, here we go. This is the third one. You guys didn't know that, and whatever happens now, it's happening. I'm not going into the fourth. All right, welcome, live stream 123 after hours for June 22nd to the 28th, 1917. This is the third time I've read this. From Italy, by way of Amsterdam, comes a story that the renewed battle in the Trentino has assumed extraordinary dimensions and extends along the entire front in the Sagana Valley to Asiago, the old fighting ground on which the attention of the Allied countries was fixed with great hope for some time after the Italians commenced their first offensive in that region. At that period, it seemed as if the Italians were committed to making the Trentino the chief point of attack. It was believed that with the Italians hammering the Austrians there and the Russians striking them on the other front, Austria would soon be driven out of the field as a fighting factor. It is also too much to hope just now that the Italian forces are acting with an understanding that the Russians are about to assume the offensive against the Austrians on a great scale. But many still cling to that hope. In any event, the Italian army is showing a strength and determination that is not excelled by that of the British or French forces on their respective fronts. The Austrians last night officially claimed the repulse of all the Italian attacks. In the Vaux-Allons sector, northeast of Soissons, the French record the recapture of some positions taken by the Germans after the desperate fighting, while at the same time it is announced that factories, railway stations, munitions depots, and camps were raided by large squadrons of French airplanes, which dropped an immense number of bombs. There was also some spirited fighting in the Champagne district, where the French had the better of the conflict, carrying several positions. The Germans, who record in their official statement the successful carrying off of more than a mile of trench in the Vaux-Allons sector, have nothing to say about most of these positions being won back in the French counterattacks. It is no part of the German program in these days to admit losing until it is obvious that all the world knows that they have lost ground. Though it is a long time coming in these days of dramatic events, it is still obvious that both Germans and French are fencing for an opening of an attack on a great scale, with the odds in favor of the French beginning the attack. And it was neat to read that bit because we were trying to look that up last week, of finding out whether or not the British and the French were actually bombing civilian targets. And so far, it doesn't seem like that. And this is corroborating what we had seen last week, that the French were trying to nail, basically limit the military capacity of the Germans by hitting, munitions depots and railways. And this is what we're reading. Totally cool. An unofficial dispatch declares that the Germans have retired from 8 square miles of territory in a triangle of the river Lys. Some time ago in this summary, it was pointed out that the Germans were in a precarious position in staying in this territory with the river at their back. It is said that the Germans made their withdrawal from all territory west of the river from a point near Warneton southward. There are indications that the fighting on the British front will soon spread to the whole of that section held by them in Belgium, clean through to the coast in cooperation with the monitors and other warships. It is yet to be seen whether an attempted landing will be part of the program. Wow, an amphibious assault. If it is attempted, it will only be done in conjunction with powerful blows struck by the French, British, and Belgian armies, while the strongest possible naval forces that can be spared for such work will hammer the coastline. The German official report speaks of a night surprise attack carried out by themselves in the neighborhood of the coast, resulting in a number of British being brought back as prisoners. A straw which may indicate that the Allied preparations for big fighting in this region are well advanced. Remember, we found out last week there about Admiral Jellicoe saying that if they don't take the Belgian coast within soon or whatever, within the year, you can kiss the British. We're going to have to start suing for a settled peace or something. General Maurice of the British staff is in one of his weekly talks denies that any considerable number of German troops have been brought from the eastern to western front. What has happened, he says, is that the new foe units sent to the western front were made up largely of men called, but recently to the colors, the Germans having been able to free their own men for service by using people in the occupied territories as laborers. This makes it the more urgent that the Russians should strike some blows at once if any really big progress is to be made this summer towards hammering the Germans into submission. Yeah, well, they don't have the luxury of bringing the Chinese over to do some of the labor work. Anyways, while it may be true, as many military observers assert, that the Germans are using up their reserves on the Western Front and are throwing into the melting pot the new armies they had hoped to save for decisive victories that would end the war, it is also true that they are able to throw these reserves and the new armies into the Western Front because of Russian inactivity. Excuse me. General Maurice makes the statement, this blew me away, I love this, makes the statement that the British Western Front is approximately 130 kilometers long. So that's 6.5 Weltkriegs. Hexes, and that the British are now in the German trenches for its entire length, with the exception of a few sections which total of about 25 kilometers. All the dominating points, or at least the majority of them, are now held by the British, as a consequence of which there has been an immense reduction of casualties. Fighting activity is again lively on the Galician front, according to German-Austrian official reports received during yesterday and last night. One of the Austrian reports speaks of the use of heavy artillery. The Germans say that the activity was at Smorgon, to the west of Lutsk, on the Zlokov-Kornopol Railway and on the Narubka River. This is old fighting ground in the present war, the scene of Russian victories subsequently followed by the campaigns that led to the capture of Lemberg and later of Przemyśl. Since the recapture of much of the ground by the Teuton forces, and particularly since the collapse of the Russian efforts to create a diversion during the Romanian campaign, there's been little to cheer for from the Allied point of view in this quarter. There's nothing in the dispatches as received last night to indicate that the recruitments of Russian liveliness, I'm going to have to look that word up, is on a grand scale. There are too many disturbing elements within the Russian Empire at the present time to permit of optimistic forecasts, something like a mutiny in the Black Sea being one of them, really. But the American mission now in Petrograd is hopeful that its work, following that of other missions and combined with them, because they are trying so hard to keep the Russians in, and please, please, please do an offensive, may result in stirring events on the Russian front. The Congress of Soldiers and Workmen's delegates from the whole of Russia are in favor of a resumption of the offensive and a reorganization of the army with the establishment of a war cabinet. The situation is more hopeful. Oh boy. Kerensky offensive is just about to happen, isn't it? On the French front, there's been some heavy fighting north of the Aisne. The Germans attacking along a front of about 1.25 miles, being driven off at all points with the exception of one salient in the center, which it is admitted by the French was penetrated and is apparently still held. The famous Chemin des Dames was the scene of the attack by specially picked forces. Interesting. On a considerable front. That kind of, doesn't that sound, the Germans, on the other hand, claim that the southeast of Montpellier, they held most of the positions they had won against the French attacks. Hold on, I was thinking about a completely unrelated thing while reading this. So it was penetrated, which is admitted by the French, was penetrated. Now, earlier on, remember they said about a night attack by special German forces. Well, that sounds like we just found the attack from where it is. Cool. The Germans, on the other hand, claimed that the southeast of Montpellier, they had held most of the positions they had won against the French attacks, losing only one unimportant portion of the ground. They also admit that they lost a part of the positions they had captured at Vaux-en-Velin. The fighting in this area bids fair to develop into a great battle in the near future, and it would appear as if the Germans were seeking to force the fighting in order to draw off the Allied forces from attacks elsewhere. The Germans claim to have repulsed British attacks northwest of Warneton and at other points along the line held by Haig's forces. General Haig's laconic reports show that the attacks exist in the German imagination, several raids by the enemy having been repulsed. The Italian forces in the Trentino, as well as on the Carso Plateau, report successes. In the former area, the Italians exploded a mine under the spur of a hill, killing the garrison and carrying the summit of the height. That's the first time I've heard them doing mine works. It is not clear from the dispatches to what extent this advance carries the line toward Trent, but it seems to be a position of commanding importance. In the campaign against Trieste, the Italians repulsed attacks on points they had taken near the coastline and farther inland, and also succeeded in advancing their line for some distance. The United States Liberty Loan was oversubscribed by more than $1 billion. This is gratifying bit of war news for all the Allied nations. Money, money. For the moment, it is not known how far advanced the First United States Expeditionary Force is in regard to beginning its work overseas. Not very, man. What is certain, however, is that a great effort is being made to place at the disposal of the Allies a very large fleet of airplanes and a large force of aviators. Remember, they were saying 30,000 are in training. The necessity of maintaining the supremacy of the air is now thoroughly recognized in every Allied country. No greater service can be done during the present summer by the United States than that of increasing the battle fleets of the air, which is totally cool because they just had that report about the Mesopotamia campaign, saying that one of the reasons why it failed was the lack of air power. Wow. Anyways, accounts of, and that was, remember, way back, we're talking 1915 here. Accounts of spirited fighting in the Champagne come from both the French and German sides, with the enemy claiming the capture of points here and there by shock tactics, following concentrated artillery fire. Remember, the Stoßtruppen, aren't they coming into effect pretty darn soon? Hold on, I'm going to take a sip here. It is not apparent that the German gains amount to anything, even in the aggregate, either in the area of the ground taken or its value from tactical and strategic points of view. One dispatch speaks of these attacks as a series of feelers. So that's so cool. On the Laon Plateau, made by Hindenburg with a view to later launching a grand attack. Hindenburg's feelers. Anyways, two theories are advanced as to the German plan. Or, no, I'm trying to think of something with an F. One feeling that the foe simply seeks the foe's feelers. There you go. Simply seeks to recover the ground lost to the French, and which is of great importance for future campaigning in the sector. The other being that Hindenburg fears a great smash towards Laon simultaneously with the new British advance against the Hindenburg line and on the Belgian coast, and is attacking in the hope of making such a smash impossible for some months at any rate. British reports of Saturday and Sunday activity are not important. Mr. Stuart Lyon, the special correspondent of the Canadian Press, tells of increased artillery activity against the Canadian line, especially around Vimy Ridge. He also mentions that an interesting ceremony has taken place behind the lines, namely the decoration of a number of men whose conspicuous gallantry in the Vimy Ridge fighting gained special rewards for them. Russian soldiers are forming storming battalions. The men constituting, it sounds like a living nightmare. Listen to this. These special corps are volunteering for the service of leading the Russians against the foe's entrenchments. This is one of the most gratifying, not for them it isn't, of recent news items from the fighting front, and taken in conjunction with the admission of both Austrians and Germans that the Russians are becoming active on the Galician front, gives rise to the hope that cooperation by the Russians in the plan of a campaign mapped out by the Allies for this summer is a matter of weeks only and not of months. But from what I've heard, there was another stupid thing of, good God, people, this takes ages to plan out, and you're forcing the Russians to make it in 2 seconds flat. Anyways, I don't know. In the Caucasus, the Russians report some considerable advances against Turkish forces. The situation in that area has not been a very encouraging one since the Russian Revolution, and it would appear that a good deal of ground was lost by the soldiers disregarding discipline, and presumably to a large extent deserting from their regiments, that Special Order 1 maybe. The Kurds, wild tribesmen, have been very active against the Russians in the Caucasus for some time, cutting up the rear guards and attacking the lines of communication and the commissariat, and generally aiding the Turkish regular forces, which of themselves do not appear to have been able to take full advantage of the disorganization in the Russian ranks, thanks no doubt to the advances of British forces in Mesopotamia and Palestine. Neat, to hear about the Kurds and the Turks working together. The Italians seem to be able to hold their own against the Austrians on the Carso without having to abandon any part of their plan in the Trentino. Big events maybe look forward to both the Italian fronts. There's no fighting news from Macedonia. Another boy, oh boy, I remember hearing about this. Where they're like, this thing just goes to nowhere. A story from Washington advances the belief that the Allies intend to withdraw from the field of operation owing to the immense difficulties of transporting supplies and munitions to the troops there, and taking the ground that in any event, the war would be decided on the Western Front. And what are you doing there then? It is always dangerous to prophesy, and the Allies may have this idea in mind. However, it does not seem possible that they would have taken the action recently followed in Greece if such a plan was to be pursued now. Nor is it possible to think that they could count on any further cooperation from those of the Serbians who are fighting with them in such an event. It would seem more likely that, for the moment, the Allies have simply withdrawn from positions of advanced positions where malaria plays great havoc among the troops, and that the Macedonian campaign may take on a wider sphere of increasing aid from the Greek people. Aid from the Greek people. British advances in which the Canadians played a part are recorded southwest of Lens and along both banks of the Souchez River and northwest of Warrenton. In both cases, ground is gained on the Souchez, substantial progress being announced on a front of about 1.5 miles. Lens is the prize of this second named advance. It was thought after the Vimy Ridge battle that this coal mining center had been or would quickly be evacuated by the Germans, but they have clung to it, and the admirable defense it affords, with its heaps of coal, slack, and rubbish, with great tenacity. They are gradually being squeezed out of the place, however, and if there is any important number of the enemy there, they are liable to be trapped and captured. The Canadians paved the way for the larger advance by taking the line of enemy outposts southwest of Reservoir Hill, one of the strong points in the defense armor of Lens. They seem to have carried out their work with very little loss. The ground has been consolidated and embodied in the Canadian lines. The gain at Warrenton in the Messian sector, a very considerable distance away from Lens, shows the capability of the British to deal blows at any point on their front of 100-odd miles. The reports from the British front, in addition to these advances, tells of raids at very many points up and down the line, including places near the Belgian coast. And the Germans also mention increased activity in the latter region. All the indications are for another smashing advance. The aerial activity alone would indicate that this is in preparation, for the British aviators are seeking out the enemy over his own lines. And speaking of this, General Haig says that there was heavy fighting in the air on Sunday, 5 German airplanes being brought down by British machines, 5 being driven out of control, and 1 being shot down by an anti-aircraft gun, while 5 British airplanes were reported missing. Just going to hit the pause button. All right. Austria's troubles with the Bohemians have been officially confirmed by the retiring Minister of Defense in a statement made before a committee of the deputies. As early as the spring of 1915, reports were current of the defection of Czech regiments, and stories were then told of some of these corps being decimated by other Teuton soldiers. The retiring minister declared that 3 regiments deserted to the Russians. It was also stated that only a handful of Bohemians who were in enemy or neutral countries when the war opened answered the call to return to the colors, and that most of them volunteered for service with Entente Allied troops against their own nation. The war is far from being won by the Allies. This, I forgot about this paragraph. It is such an eye-opener. I just love this candidness, especially this late in the war and with all the censorship going on. The war is far from being won by the Allies. The Russian situation has added very greatly to the task. Indeed, it may be said that so far as the actual fighting is concerned, the belligerents are now only reaching the crucial period. But in the midst of the anxieties caused by the unexpected developments, such as the inertia that has followed the Russian Revolution, it should be borne in mind that the Teuton powers also have their troubles. They are losing ground in the West and on the Italian front. In Macedonia, the Allied forces, in the face of very great difficulties, are at least holding strong enemy armies in check and preventing them giving assistance to the foe on other fronts. In Mesopotamia and Palestine, the Turk is tasting the bitterness of constant defeat, while the campaign in Africa may be said to be drawing to a close. Tremendous and sustained efforts will be required before Belgium and northern France, Serbia and Romania, and the occupied Russian territory are redeemed. But the Allies can accomplish the task if they are true to themselves. On the French front, there's been a cessation in the hard fighting that has for some time been proceeding in several areas. The artillery duels proceed unabated while the Germans continue to shell Reims with a persistency and viciousness that can be attributed only to spite at their inability to make an advance worthwhile. It is not clear yet that the fighting on the southern bank of the Ayette, east of Voyon, has definitely ceased. The area of fighting here is chiefly along the railway from Soissons to Léon, and military experts have pointed out that if the French line could be broken or bent back to any extent around Vaux-Allon, the advantage General Pétain's men have gained in the capture of the famous Chemin des Dames would be largely offset. The aim of the French in this sector is to complete the enveloping movement that will result in the fall of Léon, a move that would go a long way in conjunction with British advances toward thrusting the enemy out of France. Battles with submarines are reported by several merchant ships, and in one case, the evidence is in favor of the claim that the U-boat was sunk. Such engagements will become more numerous as time passes, and the merchantmen will be the more anxious to use their armaments now that the Hun has apparently definitely adopted the policy of firing on the lifeboats as they leave vessels torpedoed without warning. The Hun seems to be afraid lest anyone in the wide world should cease to regard him as a murderer. Hold on again. La Culotte, immediately to the south of Lens, is now in the hands of the Canadians, who occupied the village without incurring a single casualty. Avion, according to the latest dispatches, is still held by the Germans, who are using the fortified posts in the ruins of that village to keep up the sniping and machine gun fire against the Canadians. The latter, in conjunction with the British forces, are gradually surrounding Lens. It is stated that the Germans have raised a large number of houses in the western part of the coal city with the idea of obtaining a wider area of fire for their guns, the indications being that they are drawing back to a line of defense behind the city. This line, it is said, has been amazingly strengthened by concreted and other defenses of the strongest type. There is still danger to the Germans, however, of their forces in the Lens vicinity being completely cut off, and a further withdrawal would not be surprising. The Canadian advance on La Culotte began during the night, was held up until daylight by a tremendous rainstorm. After a night in the trenches without protection from the rain, the men pushed on in the early morning and took the position. With the fall of Lens, which seemingly cannot be long delayed, the task of advancing towards Douai and Lille will be greatly simplified. The Huns are blowing great craters in the road to retard further advances. British activity continues at other portions of the line in obvious preparation for a big movement. On the Aisne front, the French, by a dashing attack, scored a fine success northwest of Hissy. All the objectives were gained, according to the official report, the German first line being carried and held against vicious counterattacks, while the French also took 300 prisoners, including a number of officers. The German report of this fighting, which covered ground in the oft-mentioned Voyon sector, where the foe gained some advantages in the fighting on the 20th and 21st, admits that the French penetrated the line at some places, but claims that they were driven out almost immediately from a majority of the positions occupied. This remains to be confirmed. What is clear is that General Pétain is quite able to stop the German attacks in this region as soon as they are shown to be a menace to his plans of campaign against Lyon. 3 British airplanes on Monday fought 10 German machines in Flanders, bringing down one of them in flames, and it is thought sending 2 others out of control. The clouds made it impossible to say whether the latter 2 were smashed. No details are given of this battle beyond the meager official report, but it is surmised that the British planes were of a new type of great size. This freaks me out. I have no idea what they are. And enormous power. It is said that these new machines have made flights carrying as many as men from 18 to 25 men. What the hell? With a small crew, they would carry a tremendous amount of explosives. Did I screw up somewhere? Hold on here. No. Did I? At other portions of the line and operation. No. Where did I miss something here? Let's see where I'm going here. Germination. What happened? I'm going to hit pause so I find out. All right. Sorry about that. Now I figured out. I just went down too far down the line and I thought I'd screwed up here. With a small crew, they could carry a tremendous amount of explosives, more nearly approaching the quantity capable of being carried on Zeppelins, while the machines would be much more easily controlled and more serviceable than the big gas bags. Statements made in the House of Commons yesterday would indicate that the British, after all, do not intend to make reprisals on German towns, we remember that again, for the murderous tactics of the Huns in attacking unfortified places in Britain. But they will continue to use their airplanes and airships only against military positions. This will, of course, include munition works and war factories. The new planes, such as those referred to, would give the British every chance to make the long-distance flights necessary to attain their objectives. We've got to find out what those planes are. So up to 25 people can fit in. So it's obviously a British bomber of some sort. Lively fighting continues southwest of Lutsk and between the Stripa and Dniester rivers in the Galician battle area, according to German reports last night. Russian raiding detachments, these reports declare, were driven off on several occasions. The repeated references by the Teutons to the activity on the Eastern Front indicate uneasiness on their part and a growing determination on the part of the Russians to give good cause for that uneasiness. Detachments of French troops have arrived in Athens to assist in maintaining order there owing to some disturbances which do not appear to have been very serious. Oh, well, shut up. It is also announced that former Premier Venizelos has reached Athens, where he has been commissioned by King Alexander to form a new cabinet. This able statesman, who has been from the beginning of the war advocated an alliance with the Entente allies, is reported to have decided to again urge such a step as soon as the Greek parliament meets. One dispatch declares that he intends to embark on a campaign of education with a view to arousing the people to the necessity of action, and that if his mission is successful, he will be able to put the bulk of the Grecian forces at the disposal of the Allies in 3 months. The importance of such a move has been emphasized in this column on previous occasions. It would be a splendid aid to the Allies. You're going to get your wish. United States regular troops, part of, if not the whole of, the division which President Wilson directed to proceed to France at the earliest possible time, have landed at a French port and will at once proceed to a point near the front to complete training. Yes, that's the big thing there. They were astounded. I think even Pershing was, from what I've been found out, is astounded at the lack of training. Some of them had, like the artillery people, had never even seen one of their own type of guns they were going to fire. It's just like, whoa. Well, I think, remember, we saw pictures and whatnot of them practicing with wooden artillery guns and whatnot in the States. Anyways, the men were accorded at a tremendously enthusiastic reception by thousands of French people, whose hearts were gladdened by this visible evidence of the determination of the great public to fight in France, and soon it is hoped in Germany, for the protection of their own democracy and the freedom of the nations allied against the Hun. The men who will strike the first blows as an official United States force operating against the barbarians are a seasoned lot, and their training period is not likely to be a long one. Oh, they will be an independent command under General Pershing, with the French at the head of operations. No accident marred the voyage of the transports carrying these troops from American shores, and thus, once again, the failure of the German U-boats as decisive factors in the war is emphasized. If the U-boats and their commanders were all that the Junkers claim for them, how is it possible that so large a number of, I love this word, number of convoys as were required to carry the American contingent and its equipment would make the voyage in safety? Of course, they would be adequately convoyed, and the U-boats do not cherish adventures in which they have not at all the advantage of surprise and range. The safe landing of the United States troops is a credible performance to the Navy's concern. It will be followed, no doubt, by a steady stream of reinforcements, the statements having been made, and on apparently good authority, that 100,000 more men are ready to cross at any time. Against British merchant shipping, the U-boats and mines were less successful last week than in the previous week. 21 vessels of more than 1,600 tons each, and 7 under 1,600 tons being sunk. This compares with 27 larger and 5 smaller vessels sunk, as announced in the preceding statement. No fishing vessels were destroyed in either week. The boast of the Huns that the fine summer days would give opportunity for the brave U-boat men to sweep the seas of British commerce does not fit in with the record of their accomplishments. With the passing days, the British and Allied machinery for fighting the subs grows stronger, and it would not be surprising if in the near future foe submarine bases were attacked by strong naval and aerial forces, and in some cases on the coast of Belgium, with land forces acting in conjunction. Advances of the British around Lens and near Fontaine-le-Croisel are dismissed by the Germans with the assertion that the British attacks were repulsed, though it is admitted that the enemy occupied a fortified trench on both sides of the Arras-Lens road. The constant attempts of the Germans to belittle successes of the Allies have grown with the steady succession of defeats that they have met with on the Western Front, and their inability to give effective help to their allies, the Turks and the Bulgars in Macedonia. They don't really need to do it, do they? If you guys are calling off your operations in Macedonia, just saying, Palestine and Mesopotamia. German critics have for some time now had a new role to fill. They used to speculate on new victories for their own arms and explain the successes previously won. Now they are trying to figure out when and where the Allies, and especially the British, will strike next. Well, we know not in Macedonia. One of them is a review mentioned in the latest cables, believes that the blow will come north of Ypres, and another makes the guess that it will be in the Warrington district. Both are certain that another blow is coming. Here we go. Oh my gosh, what do you know? The Macedonian front. On the Macedonian front, there was some lively fighting in which the British absconded a number of enemy patrols, and the French beat off an attack on their trenches following a violent bombardment. It would seem that the enemy in this region is becoming anxious. It is not unreasonable to suppose that he is very much concerned as to the plans of the Allies since the recent occurrences in Greece, which bode no good for him. All righty. So that's it. And I'll see you at live stream 124, I certainly hope. And I hope you have a good remainder of your weekend and a good remainder till whenever we see each other again. All right. Thanks a lot.